I think when you sort of look at the cons of having the insurers, builders do the repairs, it almost conversely turns into the pros of doing cash settlements, such as you do have a level of control that you wouldn't necessarily have if the insurers, builders were to do the repairs. So that means you can appoint someone that perhaps you've used before and you trust that they know that they'll do a really good quality job. You can ensure that they are working to the scope of works, there's nothing being missed. You then have greater oversight as to the quality of the works as well. So you know that whatever they're doing, there isn't necessarily going to have to be variations, looking at defective works, having to repeat works that have already been done, and those extra costs that are associated with that. So I think there is a real pro to insureds really regaining a bit of control after the claim process, which typically it is out of their hands. So they do lose that control. I think for them to actually regain a bit of that control is not only quite empowering for them, but it also just ensures that they're confident moving forward that the outcome of that is that they are going to have a home that's in more of a pre-loss condition and they're comfortable with what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's particularly true if they've had a really traumatic claims experience. Because a lot of the time people feel powerless where the insurer is holding the power to make all the decisions and you're basically pleading with an insurer like, could I please have some more temporary accommodation, or could you please include this item within the scope? And that can go on for years. And I think people do end up with mental health issues because of the treatment they get in that process. There might be some professional gaslighting that's going on around the condition of things or whether things should be included in the scope. By getting cash settled, assuming it's fair and assuming we'll talk about some of the things people need to think about, it gives them back that power, which I think is part of the reason that they find themselves in a really difficult situation, is because they feel powerless and they feel like someone might be taking advantage of them. So having that power back, having the funds that you can allocate, you can monitor those trades. For some people in particular, if you have a builder, and there are scenarios where you might build a home and 2 years later it has a big issue and you can potentially get the same builder to come back out that you already know their work and trust, it can be quite a good option in those scenarios.
I think going back to just that sort of, point on empowering, I think a lot of people have, when I've spoken to clients or lead inquiries, one of the big things they say is going to the insurer to request additional things, such as a top-up of temporary accommodation, because some insurers might provide it 2 weeks at a time, 4 weeks at a time. When you're busy and life gets away from you, that time really disappears very quickly. So for them to kind of have to consistently go back to the insurer, request these things, they actually often say to me that they feel like they're made out to be a fraud, like they're just trying to cash grab and they're trying to get this money out of the insurer. So they're really put in the hot seat. And really all they're trying to do is just ensure that their family can remain in a safe and livable situation where they don't have to worry about the health of their kids themselves. If they have pre-existing health issues, they're in a moldy, damp environment, they do really feel like the insurer does kind of scrutinise over it as if they're being fraud.